Okay, this video is a follow-up from the previous video where I unpacked how to run a factorial ANOVA in SPSS. And so if you haven't watched that, please watch that now, because I walked through the process of actually carrying out everything that I'm going to put into this document here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to write up the results of a factorial ANOVA. Okay, and so I've already done the analyses. Now I'm going to put them into a write-up in Word. Now this document that I have open right in front of you is a template, and this template is given to you. It's part of the homework assignment for the factorial ANOVA assignment, and so I encourage you to open this and actually use this as your framework. So what it shows is there's two templates. One is if there's no interaction, and one if there is an interaction. Okay, so it's going to walk them through it. And all right, if you watched the last video, you know that there was an interaction, a significant interaction between the phase type and the alcohol, and so we're going to use the second template. So that's where I'm going to start. All right. So first off, I start here with a statement about the sample itself. Okay. Now, I have written this out. 246 college students were randomly sampled to see if gender and college major were related to college GPA. So in this data set, I have it collected, and there's actually 48 participants. All right. If you ever start a sentence with a number, you're not supposed to start it with the numerals. You're actually supposed to write it out. So I'm going to write it out here. 48 participants were randomly sampled to see if phase type and what was the other variable name? Alcohol consumption. Were related to median attractiveness rating. All right. As this was a stratified random sampling, we can keep that here. There were, well, we don't have equal. Well, this is not necessarily needed to say here because we actually assigned the phase types and alcohol consumption. So I can just remove that and say there were equal numbers of unattractive faces, n equals 24. And attractive faces, maybe I gotta add the S. And notice in this data set, I don't have N italicized, so I'm italicizing that. There were 3 levels of alcohol consumption assigned, including placebo and, equals 16, low dose, and 16, and high dose, n equals 16. There we go. I'm going to delete all this. All right. And the sample was collected so that doses, so that alcohol consumption was equally distributed among attractive and unattractive faces. All right, and all that means is that for each of these groups, right, we didn't put all the placebos into the unattractive phase, and the low dose into the attractive. No, it was equal. So there's 8 placebo, 8 low dose, 8 high dose in the unattractive phases, and so on. All right, so that's describing our research question and our sample. Now, the next step is really to jump into our factorial ANOVA, but we have to explain what the assumptions were. So the assumption of random sampling was met as the data was collected by researchers who utilize appropriate sampling methods. You can keep that as is. The assumption of measurement scale was met as the independent variables were nominal and the dependent variable was continuous. So these two sentences you will not have to change for your for the homework. They will stay exactly the same. All right, the assumption of normality. All right, was that met? Well, in our example, I ran the descriptive statistics, that's up here, and we had skewness of -7.8 and kurtosis equals, well, this is one of those tricky times, it's 0.66, but is the 0.5 higher than? Yep, it's a little bit higher, so I'm going to round it up. That's the point to doing that. Because it's a little bit over 5, you round 0.67. And kurtosis equals 0.67. Which that's plural, so that really should be which were between -1 and 1. And then this one, the assumption of equality of variance was not considered as the interaction effect was significant. I do encourage you just keep this sentence in there. I think that just reinforces to you that you don't need to look at it. All right. Now, those were the assumptions. So new paragraph. Okay. To test whether face type and alcohol consumption were associated with median a factorial 2 by, well, we said it's not a 2 by 8, it's a 2 by 3. The first variable, face type, has 2 levels, so that's why it's a 2 here. The second variable, alcohol consumption, had 3 levels, placebo, low dose, high dose, so that's why it's a 3 here. So a factorial 2 by 3 ANOVA was conducted. This analysis revealed that the effect of the interaction was significant. All right, I jumped into it and I am not reporting, going back to the output, I am not reporting the corrected model. You do not need to report it. I won't mark you down if you do, but the corrected model, just think of it as a preliminary step just to verify, do I keep going? So it's more for you to just to look at and to evaluate. The assumption is if you go beyond that, you don't even have to say it. The reader will know or will assume that the overall model was significant. So again, that's why I don't report it. So this analysis revealed that the effect of the interaction was significant, right? Again, your write-up, if you were to write up this example, is going to be similar. If this interaction is significant, you draw people's attention to it. Interactions are very interesting because they mean that the effect of one depends on the other. That's the most important takeaway. So the effect of the interaction was significant. And here, you come back to this here, and you find this line, and you report the degrees of freedom on this line, and then the error degrees of freedom. You always refer to the error degrees of freedom. So if I were to report the corrected model f-test, I'd report it as 542. If I was reporting the face type, I report it as 142. Alcohol, 242. Again, I keep referencing what is the number on this line, and then the second number, the DF2, is always the error degree of freedom. Okay, so in this case, it's 242. And that equals 8.51. And P equals 0.001. Notice how I don't write less than 0.001 because it's reporting it as 0.001. If this said 0.000, that's where I would put it as less than 0.001. So again, I keep the equal sign here. All right, then you have to explain what this means. A visual interpretation, and I find it that this is the most, this graph here for me explains it best. I mean, if you could look at either of these, they are the same data, same information presented, but I find this one to be a little bit more straightforward to me. So what I see here is the dose of the alcohol consumption was unrelated to the attractiveness rating for attractive faces. So I'm going to write that. A visual interpretation of the interaction plot indicated that, all right, I have to delete this. Attractive faces were unrelated to so I'm going to change this just a little bit and say indicated that the median attractiveness rating for the attractive faces were unrelated to alcohol consumption. But the unattractive well, actually, I'm going to write this in the same format. But the median attractiveness rating for the unattractive faces was strongly related to alcohol consumption. Alcohol consumption increases attractiveness. Well, I should probably keep it median attractiveness ratings, right? It's kind of a wordy dependent variable name, but I'm going to keep it. Alcohol consumption increases median attractive ratings for unattractive faces, but not attractive faces. Okay, so what this sentence does is I've really tried to unpack what did we find. Remember, well, in your write-up of the findings, you could potentially present the graph and show it and include this in your manuscript, but it's best to be able to explain it in words. And so that's what I tried to do here. And I did it one way. There's different ways to write this up. In fact, I tried to be really, I elaborated on it, try to make it as clear as possible. You'll see I used 2 sentences to explain it. Again, I could have put this into one sentence. I found it helpful to write it like this. And so I wrote it in the first sentence, basically saying that, the median attractive rating for the attractive faces were unrelated to alcohol consumption, but median attractiveness rating for the attractive faces was strongly related to alcohol consumption. Okay, and then the second sentence isn't even needed, but I felt like it was helpful to put it in plain language. Alcohol consumption increases median attractiveness ratings for unattractive faces, but not attractive faces. So if you had put either of those sentences into um, the write-up or something similar to that, you'd get full credit for explaining the interaction. You didn't need to put it out like that. Again, I'm just giving you a few different options in how to write this up. All right, so this is the most difficult part of the write-up, is trying to present what is the interaction actually find. But hopefully you see it and it makes some logical sense. And again, hopefully you'll be able to write this up in your own words, or again, using some of this template to help you. All right, well, hopefully this video was helpful to you. Look forward to seeing the homework assignments, and look forward to, yeah, if you have any other further questions, feel free to reach out. Okay, good luck.